Excellencies, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and a privilege for me to be here this morning. As you can see from my outfit, I came here directly from a mass prayer at the consulate. Around 300 Indonesian Muslims joined me in the mass prayer, observing the Eid al-Adha holiday. I consider myself as a modern Muslim who can balance religious and business life. After all, Muhammad, the Prophet, was a very successful businessman. Today is a very important day in the Islamic faith. Over 2 million Muslims from all over the world have gathered in the holy city of Mecca to perform the Hajj, one of the 5 principal duties for every follower of Islam. Indonesia, as you know, is home to the largest Muslim population in the world, as the overwhelming majority of Indonesians profess to the Islamic faith. Over 150,000 Indonesians are performing the Hajj today. Therefore, the Hajj is always a very important business to the government of Indonesia. As early as 1872, the Dutch consulate was established in the city of Jeddah to facilitate thousands of pilgrims from, at the time, the Dutch East Indies. In 1950, that consulate was transferred to the government of the Republic of Indonesia. So this consulate in Los Angeles is very young by that standard. We were established in the 1980s. Let me dwell a little bit more about the social economic aspect of the Hajj. I think it is a good illustration. Don't worry, I don't mix my speeches between this morning and this event. I think it is a good illustration of the Indonesian economy today and its trajectory. First of all, performing the Hajj is quite costly for Indonesian Muslims. Today, the basic cost is around $3,000 per person. Transport, hotel, and everything. Then I can see at least 3 signs that indicate the progress of Indonesia's economy. First, the so-called waiting period for Hajj. The waiting period becomes longer and longer, unfortunately, because of the quota system placed by the government of Saudi Arabia. Only 155,000 Indonesians maximum are allowed to go to perform Hajj this year. Last year was only 140-something thousand. It means even if you have the money now, 3,000, well, for us in LA, 3,000 is easy. That's the cost of your apartment rent. Even if you have the money now, you have to wait for some years before you can actually go to Mecca. And it differs from one city to the other. It depends on how many people apply. In Jakarta, for example, the waiting time now is 17 years. Can you imagine? So if you are 60 years old and you have the money, you apply to the government to go to Mecca. By when you are 77 years old, you can go to Mecca. And this is much longer than in 2013, for example, it was only 11 years. So these unfortunate data show that more and more people can afford to perform the Hajj. Secondly, the age factor, it becomes irrelevant. 40 years ago, when my grandfather went for the Hajj, he did say goodbye as if he would never return home. he was prepared to die in Mecca. Can you imagine? Because he was in his late 70s and he was not in a very good health. And that was the average case of Indonesian in that year, 40 years ago. So old people with vulnerable health condition spending their life saving. But this had changed when my father went to Mecca, so one generation away. My father was in his early 60s and in very good health, as was the average case of his generation, and many of them would go for the second or third time. Even when someone was in their late 70s, their health was somewhat a bit better than what my grandfather was. How about my generation? This brings me to the third side. More families and more minor Hajj. Well, I may not count as an average Indonesian because I'm a diplomat, professional diplomat, traveling is my business. But my brother, for example, has performed the Hajj in his early 40s. And he brought his wife and his 2 children. This had almost never happened one generation before. And my brother has gone a few times to perform the minor Hajj, that is pilgrimage in any day of the year other than today. Well, perhaps even my brother does not really represent the average 250 billion Indonesians, but I think he represents the 45 million members of the fast-growing middle class, according to a study done by the McKinsey Global Institute. And the study also projected that by 2030, which is only 15 years from now, maybe my daughter's generation, there will be 135 million members of the so-called consuming class in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the Hajj trend suggests that Indonesia's economy is progressing in the right direction. Indeed, Indonesia today is the largest economy in Southeast Asia and the 16th largest economy in the world. It is projected by 2030, Indonesia will become the 7th largest economy in the world. I think it will be almost the size of the economy of the state of California, which is good. We recognize that amid the current global economic downturn, Indonesia and many other economies face some critical challenges. The government of Indonesia has responded swiftly by issuing a comprehensive deregulation package a few weeks ago. This policy aims at making investment more attractive, easier, and speedier. Now we have a problem with especially our manufacturing sector. I guess, for example, I know the textile garment industry that started in the early 80s. I think the machines in the factories are already old and they have to replace or whatever to boost the productivity of the factory. I remember one Italian company a few years ago tried to establish themselves in Indonesia. Just their business is simply to refurbish those machines in the textile factories. And then the second deregulation package will be issued in the coming weeks. Is that Tom? Welcome, Tom, Mr. Elliot. Mr. Tom LeBonge. Big hand for him. And this second deregulation package will be focusing on boosting Indonesia's export. And this is another problem or another issue with the Indonesian economy. Export today is actually not that important for Indonesia, as international trade is only I think 11% of our GDP. But now we realize trade is good, and we want to have more trade to even have a bigger or stronger economy. In essence, while addressing the current challenges effectively, Indonesia will come out with a stronger and more productive economy. Indonesia is a worthy partner for everybody. I am confident about that because we did have worse crisis, a worse financial crisis, much worse in 1997, 1998. But then after transforming ourselves, we came out much stronger and even more productive. And when other countries suffered from the 2008 crisis, global crisis, Indonesia was almost not affected by that crisis because we had much healthier banking and financial system. But for the current crisis, especially because of the slowing down of the Chinese economy, we suffered a little bit from that. But the other night, Tom and I were in this reception in the Chinese Consul General's residence, and I was made confident by the ambassador, by the Chinese CG, Eric was also there, that the Chinese economy will bounce back in a few years' time. In Indonesia, two major issues are one, the purchasing power in the demand, because the Indonesian economy now is based on domestic market. So because of the imports and then the imbalances between the supply and demand, now people spend less and less in stability in exchange rate and everything. But the second thing is on the commodity, because we do rely on few or actually many commodities, but lately these commodities price, international price has been going down, especially when it comes to coal, bauxite and other minerals, as well as the palm oil. But the industry told me that by 2017, these commodity prices will bounce back, not to the level of before, but it will be okay. Coal, for example, used to be $120 per ton. Today it's only $40 per ton. But the mining companies still benefit, still make profit. But by 2017, they say the price will be somewhere 75 to 80 US dollar per ton, which is good. You know, I am glad that Los Angeles is a long-time partner of Indonesia. The port of LA is the most important trade hub for Indonesia's export to the United States, even to North America. In 2014, almost $8 billion worth of Indonesian products came through the LA port, thus making Indonesia the 11th largest trade partner to Los Angeles. Well, we can do better than that, don't we? And I'm sure we will do better in the following years, and I'm ready to work with each and everyone in the room to make that happen. The Sister Cities Partnership between Los Angeles and Jakarta for the last 25 years has contributed positively to the relationship between Indonesia and the United States. It is my fervent hope that this Sister Cities Partnership will continue to flourish and contribute even more significantly. Trade, investment, tourism, education, cultural cooperation, you name it, they all offer tremendous opportunities. On this special occasion, allow me to pay tribute to those who have been championing Los Angeles, Jakarta Sister Cities Partnership and closer relations between Indonesia and the United States. Well, there are a few people here that I want to mention, of course. First one is Mr. Tom LeBonge, Mr. Felton himself, and his, how do you call it, counterpart, Matthew. And of course, Norman Arikawa from the port is here. Carlos Valderrama, my new good friend from the Chamber of Commerce. And Eric Hadi from the Mayor's Office. I think Mayor Garcetti told Eric to see me almost every day. Because we all know that Indonesia is the next big thing. It will be that in a short while. And it all depends on us. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude my remarks by sharing my thoughts about the best opportunities when it comes to doing business with and in Indonesia. I call it the 4+1 formula. The first one, anything to do with consumer products and services. Anything. You can literally sell anything in Indonesia. Ice cream, I always like to cite this story. Ice cream, for example. Ice cream is a $5 billion market in Indonesia. $5 billion a year. And we only consume 0.6 liter of ice cream per capita per year. Thailand, for example, already consumed 1.2. Can you imagine if more and more people in Indonesia buy ice cream and consume more ice cream? It's a huge market. So anyone with ice cream, come to me. But I'm also talking about cheese, wine, whatever. Consumer products is big. Cosmetics. Can you imagine? My wife remembers, I don't remember the name, but there is a new cosmetic shop in Rodeo Drive. I don't remember the name. But the next month it is already open in Jakarta. Such a big market. And very eager to consume anything American product. But the key is how to produce and distribute goods and services more efficiently. That's, I think, when you invented a way of doing just that, you will make a lot of money. Number 2, agriculture and fisheries. First, the domestic demand. More people eat, for example, now meat, beef. I don't remember exactly the data, but we produce more and more beef every year. But still, it cannot catch up with the demand from the domestic market. That's why we always import cows from Australia. And some ingenious businessmen from Indonesia even they bought the farms in Australia. So the money doesn't go anywhere. Again, and also for export market, processed food from Indonesia, I think, is having a tailwind, so to say. I I know some importers in LA who has been doing very good with importing processed food from Indonesia. But for agriculture and fisheries, you can do both, or either increasing productivity, better seeds, better all that, or even you can still expand or open up new farms on land or at sea. 3, and I love this very much, more efficient and smarter production of resource-based industry. You know, you can do much. Because Indonesia is home to the largest deposit of so many minerals, bauxite, coal, but coal production in the island of Kalimantan, for example, which is the latest source of wealth for many. You don't even have big machines or big truck extractor to get the coal in Kalimantan. It's just there. It's lying on the ground. Pick it up, ship it out, get the money. And of course, for the last 10 years or so, demand from China was so big. Now it's declining. That's why the price is going down. But if you find a way to extract, or maybe even then to have some downstream thing with the coal, you may get money out of that. Number 4, I think some people from UCL are here. Education and training, you can never go wrong with. Because Indonesia has an extremely young population and a very large pool of workers, and they have to adapt to the new way of doing things. As I said, more efficient way of producing or distributing goods and services. That would need training, education. So be creative with that, be innovative with that, and the money is yours. Now the +1, and this is big, infrastructure. I have been talking about this almost every day. In reality, we need more seaports, we need more airports, we need more roads, we need more electricity, we need more railways and irrigation and so on. Even dealing with the trash and waste. So infrastructure. And the government of Indonesia has introduced a very ambitious infrastructure projects from 2015 to 2019. I think the projects will worth something like 545 billion US dollars. And in this regard, I wish to announce that in May 2016, the Consulate, working together with you stakeholders in the room, will organize an infrastructure forum here in Los Angeles. Because I think these projects, big infrastructure projects, have not had enough attention, or they have not attracted enough attention from business community in Los Angeles. So we want to push for that. And in that event in May next year, we will bring the participating companies from Indonesia here so that they can meet and deal directly with their potential partners. I am certain with your support that the infrastructure forum will benefit everyone. Between now and May 2016, the consulate will from time to time make targeted announcement about the available and upcoming projects, because some projects have already started now. Some will start the bidding process in late 2016, so they don't go together as a bulk, but they are spread out. So that's why we need this infrastructure forum. And I'm sure many people will be interested in this infrastructure projects. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've said enough. And as you can see, I didn't mix up my speech. Although, of course, spiritually and emotionally, I cannot detach myself from Mecca today, as we just got the news that a few hundred people again got this incident in Mecca, and we pray for them. And a few days ago, there was also another incident. It's always like that. It's 2 million people at the same time in one place. I was Googling some facts about what is the largest spectator in sport event. Anybody know? I Googled that. Apparently it was a soccer World Cup final in Brazil. And it was only 210,000 people. So you get the idea on how big 2 million people is. But then I found out another thing. The Rolling Stones gathered 1.5 million people in one concert, I think in London, back in 2006. Just some trivia. But I also saw the news yesterday, the Pope in Washington DC, I think gathered around 1 million people. Religion can be very powerful. Anyway, so again, I'm here to serve each and every one of you. I'm here to work together in promoting relationship between Indonesia and the United States, and especially between the two sister cities, Jakarta and Los Angeles. Thank you very much.